Hey guys, DCHL Devin here.
And this is DCHL Walker.
And special guest, the Axeman himself from our latest Tito's video, DCHL Casey.
I'm filled with patriotic fervor for my country. Good to see you.
So, for those of you guys who don't know, this is the guy with the axe, of course, in the video. But today, we actually have a very special Light in the Dark episode for you guys. We are going to do a spoiler review of the Battle of Five Armies.
So if you don't want to know anything about the Battle of Five Armies and you want to watch it all fresh and fun, turn off the video now and go to something else.
We are going to spoil the crap out of this. Everything.
Oh, much. Lots and
Ruin
lots.
it, all of it.
Yep. So
Be gone.
we'll talk about our overall thoughts at the end of the video, but what we're going to do is we're going to hit every single scene that was new, step by step, all 20 minutes that was taken out. Believe me, 20 minutes is more than you might expect. It's quite a bit of footage. So we're going to go through this, and we'll just start with my thoughts, and we'll just run it down. First, we got more Smaug destruction. Now, this was very minor, but it was just a little bit more of Lake Town being destroyed. I guess some more sweeps of the dragon. What did you
Yes, burning. Yeah, I thought it was fine. It wasn't that big of a deal.
He immolated so many more villagers.
Yeah. You really get the real
Vaporized.
sense of destruction from the dragon.
Pairs of smoking boots just laying around Lake Town.
Well, the more impressive scene, though, you might see next is actually in the White Council duel, but just before it. Because why, Walker, is this a big deal?
My favorite woman in the world strolls onto the battlefield casually with no shoes on, might I add, because she is that awesome.
Now, you guys did see that, but
This is beforehand. There's what we thought was Bulk.
yeah, it was Bolg's original design.
It was Bulk's original design with the beard and everything like that. He's yelling at Gandalf because Gandalf's trying to cast a spell, and basically probably a spell of some sort. Pulls him out of the cage and is yelling at him because he wants the elven ring that Gandalf has, the elven ring of fire.
Yeah.
And he slaps his hand down on a slab and he's gonna cut his fingers off to get the ring.
Yeah.
Little grotesque, but it's an orc, it makes sense.
It's a running theme in this one.
And so Galadriel just strolls up and is like, you're going to let me and Gandalf leave and you're not gonna stop us. And well, he kind of picked up his sword and tried to stop her, and she just waved his hand and poof, he was gone. He disintegrates.
Big thing about that poof. What did it look like?
It went through every layer like an onion.
See, you guys who saw the theatrical release, you saw it where it was like a pulse, and that's it. You didn't see anything more. Right. No, he literally blood and guts, like.
Dude, he goes in 6 pieces and he goes flying off the end of Dol Guldur. He's gone.
That whole scene wasn't in the theatrical.
It was
part of it.
You did see him beating on Gandalf,
Yeah.
and then she comes up, and that's it.
Yeah.
You didn't see her exchange with the orc. They actually talked.
Mm-hmm.
The orc talked with Gandalf for a little bit, trying to figure out where the ring was, stuff
Where
like
the
that.
other 2 rings were.
Oh yeah, where the other 2 were.
Which surprisingly enough, they both show up.
All 3 rings are there.
All 3
Turns
were
out.
there. Elrond, Galadriel, and Gandalf were all there with the rings.
So the next scene we see actually after that is Radagast giving the staff away to Gandalf.
Because he needs it.
Yep.
He needs it more than you.
This was actually a rather interesting scene.
So what did he tell? What did Radagast tell?
You have to fiddle with the top again. Sometimes you gotta adjust it. I'm sure you'll be okay.
Hey, all you older guys, remember your Nintendo when you had to put in the cartridge and fiddle with it so you could play the game? Well, that's how Radagast's staff works. And unfortunately, Gandalf really didn't listen to him, which we'll get later, because there's a really great scene in the battles that happens. That's really awesome. Gandalf ignores Radagast's wise wisdom on how to jiggle the cartridge in right to make the magic work.
His staff, like the wizard, isn't quite all there.
No, it's not.
So then we go into a little bit more footage of Thorin's descent into magic, his madness.
Dragon sickness. Yep.
Dude, this is so critical.
Yeah.
I have no idea why they deleted this from the film, because a lot of people saw that, like, the gold scene, and it felt rushed, like, okay, he's just done with it now. No, you can see him fighting with this dragon sickness, especially after his exchange with Duel in a little bit.
Yeah, where he cries. His thing where he says, like, get out before I kill you. isn't like, I'm going to kill you. It's more like, please leave, I'm going to kill you and I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's pleading.
Now you saw that in the theatrical release a little bit, but the gold scene is extended when he's in that pool of gold that he's attempted to bury Smaug in. That is a lot more than just this epileptic scene. It's actually quite much more powerful scene actually in this.
And it makes more sense too, because you don't feel that rush. It felt like Thorin went from crazy to just fine, and you really didn't know what the hell was going on. It felt more gradual, and then the process of him actually struggling against the dragon sickness to overcome it, I thought was very pronounced, and I really enjoyed it, and I wish they would have left it in the theatrical version.
It went through an arc rather than like a step.
Yeah.
That's how I describe it.
So for all of you out there, Thorin, much better plotline in this. So the next one, and this is just a kind of a cute scene, I guess. Bard has the Arkenstone, as you guys know. Bilbo gives it to him.
Yep.
And he says this actually really funny line.
But Casey remembers.
Oh, actually,
I didn't remember.
Oh, all right, yeah. So he's got the Arkenstone, and Thorin's like, yeah, I don't care if you got the Arkenstone. We're gonna hold up in here.
No, he thinks it's fake.
He thinks it's fake. And Thranduil looks at Bard and goes, "Sell it to Ecthelion of Gondor. I care not. You'll fetch a pretty price for it."
The cool reference to Ecthelion of Gondor in existence at this time, though, is actually pretty cool.
They had their lore down. Yeah, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
So
they do research.
Now I'm going to go ahead and gloss over this next one, but basically there's another scene. It's kind of an overhead shot of all the elves kind of dominating all over the place. You see it on the screen here now. They're just kind of shown everywhere.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of elves.
A couple thou.
But and then I guess we have another scene, and there wasn't a leaked version of this, but Bilbo talking to Bifur before he leaves.
This was really important, I thought.
Good for the character arc.
Yeah. Give Bifur. So the Dwarves all get their own little limelight in different parts of this movie, in the extended cut, which is awesome. But Bifur really gets the big one, and it's when Bilbo is actually climbing down the rope to go and give the Bard the Arkenstone.
Yep.
And he's tying up the rope, and Bifur notices him, and he basically tells Bilbo there's no shame in running away. Granted, that's not Bilbo's intent. He's intending to stay. He's trying to fix the problem.
Yeah, exactly. But he thinks he's running.
But Bifur thinks he's running, and he just basically says goodbye to Bilbo and lets him go, which was a huge moment. I mean, and it really added a lot of depth and development of the characters.
It also mirrored the scene from The Hobbit: Unexpected Journey, where he also tries to leave once again, and Bifur, he's like, hey.
Under very different circumstances. It was a good, mirror.
He always allows him to go. And it's kind of a cool little thing that kept up with his character.
He's got a good relationship with Bifur.
I like the Ballin one too, with him and Ballin.
Oh, yeah,
they become really good friends.
Oh,
Those were in the theater.
Until Moria.
So now we're going to get into the big one. This one we could almost talk about for a full hour. Probably the most shocker of the movie is that the elves and the dwarves actually do fight each other.
Yes, they do.
This isn't like a small thing. They have like a 2-minute engagement.
Yeah.
Like they
Dwarves were
screw
winning.
each other up.
The dwarves were doing lots of damage
winning.
to the elves.
Oh, yeah.
Like the look on Thranduil's face. All right, so I think we need to start at the beginning and kind of work our way through that. So the first thing is the normal Dale's riding down on his pig and insulting Thranduil and all the elves to all high.
Calls him a princess.
There's a lot more back and forth.
There's a lot more back and forth. The best one is he calls Thranduil princess.
Yeah, I can handle the dwarves. You would be good at handling dwarves, you princess. Whoa!
These guys have some pretty adult banter. This is not
Randall
really
gets upset. He's angry too. He's fired up.
Furious. But the cool thing is then the ranks of dwarves part, and all these rams come through, and there's the ram cavalry. You're like, oh my god! Send in the goats!
So the goats charge down the hill. They're gonna pretty much they're charging in, and the elves fire a volley. Now some of you may have seen this in some leaked versions online, but the dwarven catapults aren't typical dwarven catapults. This actually kind of impressed me. And actually me and Casey are going to go into detail about the practicality of this weapon a little later on. But they fire these He calls them twirly whirlies, but it's like a bolt with like a string
He called
projectile.
them arrow catchers, if I recall. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, like arrow catchers.
Danes is twirly whirly
Yeah, it's
later,
twirly.
but he called, they are arrow catchers. Yeah.
I like twirly
They
whirlies
tear up the arrows in the air, and then when they land, they just
Like, oh,
create
God.
like chaos.
I want rules for that.
Yeah.
They
Right
just
now.
smash through the elven ranks like they're not even there. It's
No
like
one
typical
would have
bow
anticipated
thrower.
that. Now these are not broken or overpowered. I know a lot of people when they hear this, they're like,
Really?
no, they're really not. They're really not. Think about it. The elves can fire volleys faster than these things can even fire.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
so you can't keep up with the elven ranks too. The weapon is actually kind of slow. You notice it kind of like
Yeah, that's true.
gradually moves to the air, so you can dodge it.
It's the only counter they really have to what the elves have to offer.
But the whole point was is they were charging cavalry, the goats, in as quickly as possible, and it was just long enough to give them that window so they didn't lose many.
They can't
to the
fire
fire.
any more of those shots. They wreck their goats.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's not like it looks like, oh my god, why don't you just stand back and fire those all day? Like no, the elves could, well, one, outfire them, and two, they could move.
Yeah.
But yeah, very cool weapon design. Just moving into it, yeah, the goats. What'd you think of that?
Well, actually, while they were really cool, the tactical use of them was really good. And that he sends in the goats, supported by his artillery with the arrow catcher things, little whirly-girdly things, and it actually supports them so that they get engaged long enough for the infantry to come up.
Yep.
The other cool thing is the elves use some actual real-life tactics against some counter-cavalry tactics, where they all lock shields. The goats have to go over.
And then they make a tier shape inside
Right.
so that cavalry can go further.
They make these pockets, like Alexander the Great used it against like Persian chariots. I mean, like actual tactics were, wow, that was a good touch. There's an actual tactical evolution happening there.
Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so actually, if you guys were wondering where all the goats were in the movie,
That's where.
they're dead.
They got taken out by the elves.
Yeah, they didn't do so well. Actually.
Now, one thing that did do well, which didn't get taken out, but was the chariots. The chariots, they have these like chariots that, the only surprise on them, which was actually an awesome surprise, was they have bolt throwers mounted on the top in front of them.
Repeating
Repeater
bolt thrower.
Hand crank, yeah.
Yeah.
So they basically could shoot things down as they scythe their way through things. The rams, of course, bulldoze you out the way, and if you get on the sides of them, you're getting cut to pieces.
I
So
want
they had the
rules for
size
this,
on the wheels too. So
There will be
it was really
rules
good.
for this.
One way or another,
It's a-
GW or otherwise.
It's pulled by 6 goats,
Yep.
and it has a 4-man dwarven crew on it. It has one arming the bolt thrower, 2 on the sides, kind of to whack off the orcs that get stuck in the wheels, and then 1 is the driver. He's up at the top back. So, and it's all
it's a
like
serious
steel,
machine.
heavily armored.
It's a
and
tank. It's like a tank. It is a tank.
It's a whole tank.
Fitting for a dwarf.
Oh yeah,
You'd think them to have weird contraptions like that. I mean, being craftsmen and all.
The cool part was Zog actually had counters to that. You didn't see it in the clips, but and mostly because these are the gory parts, and we'll get into what I mean by that. But basically, the trolls, you know those ogre trolls that were like half the size, they would, like all together, they're fast enough where they can just kind of ram it together, and the chariot would fall over, and they were fast enough to keep up with them, where I guess the regular trolls, mountain trolls, like weren't.
They were heavily armored and stuff like that, so I imagine they would. These were like the trolls, like Tom, Bill, and those guys, the hill trolls.
Yes.
Almost like fantasy ogre.
Yeah, kind of. So there were hill trolls, definitely. They had no armor on. They had a club, and they basically, when the order was given, they rammed the chariots, and usually it took about 2 of them to take the chariot down.
Yeah, they sent usually though way over many, like 6.
Yeah,
they took 2.
And it shows them like crushing the dwarves too.
Oh, yeah,
ripping apart
stomping on them. Oh my god.
It was pretty bad.
Guys, this movie deserves its rated R rating.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They have no problem showing the scythes cutting off heads, blood flying everywhere. people
At one
breaking their
point,
legs.
at one point, it cuts off 6 troll heads because they jump off a mountain, fly through the air, and it takes out a whole bunch of trolls in one go.
I mean, dude, the trolls stab people in the ground. They're like digging them in the dirt, like spearing them. Like, and this ain't like normal.
Oh yeah.
No.
One of the chariots cuts off one of the orc's legs and he walks on the nubs, which, being a little bit macabre, I thought was actually pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
I mean, honestly, there was a ton more trolls.
Yep.
I mean, trolls are almost like commonplace. It's just a normal thing.
Well, they had, I counted at least 3 different types.
Yep.
There was like the hill trolls that we talked about, unarmored. Then there was the heavily armored ones,
I guess the mountain trolls.
Yeah, they're
But
probably
they
the mountain trolls.
And then the siege
They were
trolls.
stocky and short, and then there was
they weren't
really,
like the
really
Mordor trolls.
Yeah, and then there was the really big ones, like kind of looked like Mordor trolls, but no armor, and they had the catapults on their backs with the goblins manning them.
Then there's another one actually. There was a fourth type, which
Are you talking about the ram troll?
no. People saw that.
The ingenious invention of putting a big giant helmet on them and go to that wall!
ISIS suicide troll.
You guys saw that in the theatrical version. The one you also saw that you didn't understand was the mutilated trolls.
Yeah.
A lot of you probably saw those and were like, "What? That's ridiculous." And I thought the same thing. No, totally, they were ridiculous. The thing is, they were explained. These trolls were much bigger than their other troll counterparts, and I guess they had trouble controlling them or something. So what they did was they cut off their arms and cut off their legs so that you can't grab the orc off that rides them. So they just like ball and chain thing, and they cut off their eyes and basically hooked it. The orc on top would pull it and make him do like a maneuver, like, you know, with the thing. That's why when Legolas wrote it, it almost seemed like it was abiding by his commands. They're trained to do that.
Yeah.
And it shows where they came from, most importantly. Otherwise, it just shows up in the movie and you're like,
Yeah,
it's like, what is this
the cool
mutilated
thing
troll?
is there's actually a scene in the battle where Bifur
Yeah.
actually gets up on top, kills the Gundabad orc that's controlling the mutilated troll, and then proceeds to make the troll beat up the Gundabad orcs.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes to town the whole time until he saves. There's the big chariot scene for them getting to Ravenhill, and he actually saves them at one point from another troll with his. And he gets dismounted, and that troll later on is the one that is going after Legolas.
it's a troll on troll fight.
Yeah,
it's
there is a troll
It's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
It was pretty cool.
Don't forget the personal scene.
Before we move on to the Ravenhill race, which some of you guys caught in the trailer, there was a really cool moment. You all saw moments when they charged out with the like 11 doors, and they're like, okay, the 13 come out or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, how many? You don't know how to count, do you?
13.
13 doors charge out of Erebor.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, 13 doors really helped them. I mean, honestly, yes, the family of dwarves are able to fight together in such a weird, cohesive way that you see them do almost reminiscent of the dishes scene from the first Hobbit movie, when they all kind of like are synergetic with each other, like almost like they're psychic linked.
The cool thing is each of the champions of Erebor came in specific blister packs, and there was always them broken up into usually their family units. There was a couple that were a little odd.
All the brothers and cousins fight together.
Yeah, and it was because they had their own clips with those set.
Yes.
In the movie.
It would have made
which was
so
really, really
much
cool.
more sense. When you guys saw them divided up, it made really a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
the way, you did see Buffer's axe. Is it Buffer? No, it's Bifur. I forgot whose axe gets pulled
Bifur.
out. It's Bifur?
I think it's Bifur.
Okay.
No, but yeah. You're right.
No, maybe Buffer. One of those two. I forgot.
So he has a
all
great
the
scene.
axe in his head. Yeah. He has this crazy scene, actually. Well, Casey, you remember that? It was like he was...
Oh, he headbutted an orc, and the axe that's stuck in his head gets stuck in the orc, and they're going back and forth, and gets over a ledge, and they use Bombor's weight to like jump off and grab the orc, and pulls him off, and it pulls the axe out of his head. Best part is he hands it back to him. He's like, "Hey, I found your axe." Goes, "I'll tell you where to stick that," and throws it.
And not in Dwarvish, it was in English.
It was
So,
a little crude.
which was
definitely
awesome.
rated R once again.
But his axe is gone. It's no longer in there. He's cured.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's healed.
The other great one was when they were using Bomber as a tactical advantage.
Oh yeah,
They
like
had a
tossing
system
him
worked
around.
They had a system. He would twirl and whirl and just beat everything. Kind of like the river scene when he's in
Very
there
similar.
spinning around in the barrel and everything when he's on land. It's the same thing, except eventually you would get dizzy, right? So the other two dwarves that happened to be in the area, he would get dizzy and fall over. They would pick him back up, and then they would go back to town.
Rinse, repeat, you know.
It was kind of a silly, reminiscent of what you've seen in The Hobbit. A little bit less tactical, but just more character given to the dwarves. If it was sounding ridiculous to you right now when you watch it, it's funny. It's actually very entertaining.
It's really
It does make
entertaining.
sense.
Yeah, they film it in such a way that you kind of go with it.
Well, the cool thing is the way it's filmed is there's an axe that gets thrown because each of the dwarves are calling out for help and they throw an axe.
And
One of them
picks
throws
it up.
the axe, they kill one of the orcs, Then the next one picks it up and hears one of his other companions yell, and then he throws it again. It goes around to all of them, and that's how you get all the different scenes, which is really cool because it adds a tracking motion to it.
Yeah.
Except for when it gets to Bifur, because he gets the axe thrown at him, and instead of hitting a dwarf, he actually catches it, and the blade's pointed right at him. And he's like, what the?
But it's good as it actually shows the synergy with them, similar to the tabletop, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows how they kind of flow together and work together.
So we're going to move on from the actual Battle of Five Armies. We are going to get to the Raven Hill race, but one thing we need to touch on is the, just real quick, the Lake Town. There's a lot more Lake Town, like, destruction.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty brutal. Peter Jackson did not hold back on having the Gundabad's literally rip the Lake Townsmen fishermen to death.
And don't forget
Sadly.
don't forget the they
Oh
showed
yeah,
the
no, they
women
killed
in.
women and children.
Yep.
So
Oh, yeah.
everyone
Show
remembers the women and children were like hiding out. Well, if you guys remember the woman who was basically arguing with Alfred when she was handing out blankets in the beginning of the movie, she leads a charge of the women and children out of that grand hall because the men are losing. They're just getting screwed up.
Yeah.
They're way losing, and so the women and children go out, and the old men too.
Yep.
And
the wounded, everyone.
Anybody
except
who-
for Alfred.
Anybody who plays Lake Town Militia knows that feeling.
you know what though? I give Peter Jackson credit for this. He kept it realistic. They charge out, and you think they're gonna have this epic, like, all right, old men, women, and children. No, they pretty much get slaughtered.
They don't do so well.
They don't do that.
They get beat up pretty
They
bad.
get destroyed. In fact, I think they hit the battle line and didn't even push it back.
And that
Exactly, they got
explains
pushed.
that explains a whole point that was left out of the theatrical one, because remember Bard sends his kids to the Great Hall.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a little bit later, when he confronts Alfred and kills the troll before it gets Alfred.
Oh,
he's
his kids
dressed
are
up.
hiding. Yeah.
Yeah, his kids are hiding next to him. And that actually explains why they're back out in the battlefield, is because they actually came back out with the charge too, and then met back up with Bard.
Speaking of Alfred, we want to hit that one.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hit it now. We're
Well,
in Lake Town.
we need to start with the Gandalf scene.
We do need to.
All right,
Right,
so who wants to explain the Gandalf scene?
All right, the Gandalf scene.
Where you go with Devin? Okay.
The Gandalf scene, basically, Gandalf goes one-on-one with a troll. And overall, and actually I guess this really is a Walker moment, is basically, okay, so I kind of wish we saw some cool magic, but what we did get was kind of humorous. This is when he didn't follow Radagast's advice. And he tries to use magic out of the staff, but he's got to like finagle it correctly. And
He rolled a 1.
Yeah, he
Over
rolled
and over again.
multiple ones.
His will roll didn't go so well.
He basically, he had to keep dodging the troll, but he never actually casted any magic. You could see him almost start to. When he would like command it, and the troll would like kind of stand there for a second, like some kind of weird transfix, and it just stopped. So I guess he needs a staff to keep it up. And then Alfred comes in and saves him.
Can you explain a little bit more? Because no one's going to understand.
That was cryptic. Okay.
No, Alfred. So Alfred is on top of this like catapult. Oh, it's a troll catapult.
It's a troll catapult.
He's hiding on
It's so he's the troll catapult is dead. All right, and he's hiding in the
Catapult
catapult part, which is I forgot how he wound up in there.
He climbed up in there to hide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, because no one was going to touch the troll because it's dead. So yeah, he was in there. Well, as he went in there, the coins that were in his bosom or whatever fell out, and they hit the
lever.
launching point, the lever,
Yeah.
and it fires him. Now, because of the way the troll is laying, it fires him kind of this way, like horizontally.
Yeah.
And as the troll that Gandalf's fighting opens his mouth, Alfred gets launched into the troll's mouth and chokes the troll to death. And Alfred,
It does. It works.
Oh, yeah,
It works
it's
like a
really
charm.
good.
So, you know
And
what?
Alfred dies too as a consequence.
Alfred does die. He's completely dead.
Spoiler alert.
So, yeah. So, for those of you who are like, oh my god, Jar Jar Binks has returned, you get to see Jar Jar die in this film.
It was immensely gratifying.
I was so happy they killed him.
I was laughing so hard.
It was
So
really
it
fun.
was an absurd way for him to die, but let's be honest, the character was absurd the whole movie.
He was finally
And-
useful.
Yeah, it-
Oh, yeah.
He
I
did a
mean,
useful thing.
Save Gandalf.
honestly, he should have kept that in the theatrical release.
Yeah.
It wasn't gory.
No.
There was nothing gory about it. I think the only reason they cut it out was because they cut out the Radagast scene. And the Radagast scene
scene
talks about the
explains.
finagling, and so you're like, why is Gandalf's staff not working?
But even if you put all
even
that
then-
in, it would have been like 2 minutes of extra film.
Yeah,
So.
they should have kept it in and let us have that glorious moment where Alfred died, but
Yeah.
Anyway, so we now move on, and now we can go, Walker, you can talk about the chariot chase. 3 minutes of action on that.
All right, 3 minutes of action. Here we go. So Dane and Thorin are basically both fighting together, and Dane's like, "How are you going to get up to Ravenhill?" And all of a sudden, Balin comes in with one of the great big chariot tanks, and bam! That's how we're going to get up there. So it's Thorin, Dwalin, Fili, Kili, and
Well,
Balin and
Thorin's
Dwalin.
on a ramp.
He's on a ramp.
Individual
Yeah,
ramp.
he's on an individual.
The others are in the chariot.
Yeah. So in the chariot is Dwalin, Balin, Fili, and Kili.
Yep. The ones who went up the mountain on the goats that you saw in the theatrical release, those goats were from the chariot that got destroyed during this chase scene.
Yeah.
So, and man, did they not hold back.
No.
Oh my god.
So they
wow,
basically
wow.
drive through all these orcs and everything like that, and they end up in the river, which we've all seen bits and pieces of them kind of sliding around and hitting the walls of rock and everything like that. The first thing that chases them, the first big thing, is a troll.
Yeah.
And that's where Bifur comes in, and he actually stops it with the mutilated troll.
The one that he controls.
Yeah, the
He
one
basically goes into the robot kind of thing.
The cool thing is that armored troll, because it's one of the short, stubby armored trolls, is basically collapsed the ice and is smashing it and running as fast as he can to keep up with his chariot until Bifur
this was
comes
meant
in.
to be a video game sequence.
Yeah, it was really.
Yeah, Keely laughing at Bifur's like, oh, or I'm sorry, Dwalin was like, shoot him in the soft spot. There is no soft spot. It's a troll. That was great.
There is one actually on the. So there's another troll that stops them. Basically, it comes in and crushes the bridge that they have to cross, or the ice.
No, he's holding up the ladder for the orcs to cross.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they shoot him.
Yeah, that's right.
And they shoot him to knock him down, and then they just
Yeah.
ride over him. It's
So
pretty
they're
interesting.
basically that crank bolt thrower weapon. Dwalin's like operating that, and he fires them at them in the face, and the troll dies, and then of course the orcs fall down.
Grand Theft Auto
Yeah.
Dale City.
It is literally.
And then the next
wargs.
The next thing is the wargs and the warg riders. So
Yes.
hunter orcs and wargs.
Gundabats. It isn't
Yeah,
hunter orcs.
It's
oh,
technically
yeah.
Gundabad
Yeah,
on
yeah.
wargs. Although the Moria, which are the hunter orcs, were there at the battle too. So
Yeah, that's true.
so it could have been them.
Yeah.
Just look a little different, whatever have you.
Armor.
So the wargs end up killing 3 of the rams.
They literally like ripped them off of the chariot. The
Yeah.
wargs are actually very good at destroying chariots, which is actually kind of
You
interesting.
go for the mobility, you go for what drives it, which
Yeah.
would be the goats.
Yep, and they tackle them off, and that's actually why they have to get off the ram. Basically, Balin stays behind.
Yeah.
Not really explained how he survives this.
No,
it shows him with the repeater and
He does.
He
Well,
shoots them
shooting
all
at
machine
that.
guns the war.
But you have to assume he just kind of hides after he kills everybody because he's far away from the battle at this point.
He's
Yeah.
old.
And
He's
it's
old.
like,
He
alright.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he even says, like, yeah, my ram riding days, my goat riding days are over.
Mhm.
And because Dwalin doesn't want to leave him.
Says
but-
I'm too old for this.
Yeah, he's too old. He said he was too old to drive a chariot.
Too
He
damn
did-
old for
he,
this.
he did that.
he was
extremely
actually
well.
perfectly fine on the bolt thrower.
Yeah, and so he
He
ends
knows
up
what he's
gunning
doing.
down all the rest of the wargs and warg riders that were coming at him. So he lives, and then that's when it goes to the scene where they're climbing up the Raven Hill
Yeah.
to get up there. There's a couple points where they end up fighting a couple of Gundabad orcs.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, it's still Moria orcs. At
You
this
still
point.
see all that in the theatrical release. At
Yeah.
this point, there's nothing cut.
Yeah.
There's very
I don't-
little new in that.
Yeah, I
film.
don't. There's only one new thing, and you're really happy they cut it. If you guys thought that Legolas, this is the only part in the film where I'm like, good job, Peter Jackson, for cutting this nonsense. It is Legolas upside down on the bat. So you guys may have wondered how he went from hanging like this to being upside down. Like, why would he get that?
He's Legolas.
It's because he's basically coming down this like staircase full of dwarves, not dwarves, orcs, and he goes upside down so he can cut them as he's like flying on a bat. So somehow he maintains control of the giant bat while cutting through armored orcs.
About 100 of them.
About 100
Some
of
of
them.
There was a lot.
It's like
There's a whole column.
it's like
That's a heck of a heroic combat.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So basically, it puts the riding the shield in Helm's Deep down the stairwell. It's a shame.
That
was child's play for Legolas, apparently.
So clearly Legolas, before he became part of the Fellowship, was more badass than when he actually was part of the Fellowship. You know, getting those 60 years older or whatever is really bad for you.
Killing the Mumek was pretty impressive, but killing 100 orcs
while upside
down
with knives,
and they all have spears. So like any one of them could have been like, what?
I guess they forgot that spears exist for this reason.
They were really in shock and awe of the grace and beauty of this elf cutting their heads off.
You gotta understand that even after the first 50 went down, the last 50 are still watching it all.
Yeah, they're just
watching it happen. They're like, oh yeah, I guess I'm just gonna die. That's cool.
This is so cool. Let's just keep watching.
I exist as cannon fodder, so I might as well fulfill my duty here.
Yeah. So this is the one part of the movie where we're like, good job. But all the rest of the film should have been added in.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
When you get more eagles, a lot more action.
Yeah.
More Bjorn.
Now with
80%
more bear.
Yeah, you get about 700% more bear.
And he rips apart the orcs,
really
the goes and bads.
Oh, yeah. He could take on basically an entire battalion.
Another tank-like device in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, he's powerful in the game more than anything else.
His reason for being there is never explained.
Actually, it is explained in the books. It's not really explained in the movie.
Just talking about a movie perspective, he just shows up. Yep. There's no perspective on why. It's nice to see him there just because it's like cool, but
there was a little clip that when Radagast gives the staff to Gandalf is telling him to go rally the forest creatures and bring them forward. Yeah. And so that is likely implied that it meant Beorn.
Which explains the eagles.
Which explains why the eagles came.
Tells Radagast, you see him in the film, tell Radagast, gather them up. Right. So it makes Radagast riding them make more sense.
Yep.
So
and it makes sense of why he doesn't have a staff too, because he gives it to Gandalf.
Actually, you know what? That one scene just should never have been cut.
No, it should.
It explains the staff. Yeah. It allowed us to see Alfred die, and it explains the eagles.
Yep.
Oh my God, that was probably the worst cut.
That was a good transition.
There's a lot of stuff.
Just that one little scene.
These little scenes were just so important to like telling the whole story. It was well worth it to keep them in. And it didn't have to be all of them, but it's just so much better.
Yeah, you actually feel for Thorin's death more because those little scenes added in that show his descent, that show him fighting back.
More of a character arc.
Yeah, much more of a character arc. It's
that alone makes it worth it.
Yeah,
and even if not, the over-the-top violence that there is there makes it a much more memorable film. The battle itself is so much more memorable.
Blood for the blood guy.
I mean, tons more memorable.
Wrong system.
Oh, sorry. Wrong game. My bad.
Oh, another one that Rob mentioned, though I think this was in the theatrical reviews, but I'm not sure, is Thranduil tells Tauriel that the love isn't real. And then later on says that it is real. I thought both scenes were in.
They were in the theatrical.
That's dead.
Yeah, that's dead.
So, the last scene really that is there is, of course, as you heard, the funeral and coronation of funeral for Thorin. No, you didn't really.
Thorin and Fili, all the dwarves that died.
Yeah, and the Arkenstone is buried with him.
Yep. And Orcrist.
And Orcrist.
I gotta say, actually, on this one, like before Thorin dies in the original, you're like, okay, Thorin's dead, whatever. This one, actually, when you see Bilbo just start bawling over it, I actually got a little bit choked up. I got like I'm like, wow, that has much more of an emotional impact.
And honestly, if I had seen Dane get crowned, it wouldn't have made as much sense as if I had seen all the scenes of Dane. Dane and Thorin, we forgot to mention this. The families of dwarves, well, Thorin is in his own world, I guess you can say. He's by himself. But Dane and Thorin fight together for much more time.
Side by side.
Side by side.
There's also a lot of little clips of Dane just insulting the orcs as he smashes them with his skull or with his hammer or with his pig. They show how the pig dies. He gets speared to death, which is really sad.
Did they show that in theatrical release?
No. Mr. Orcs-a-Lot doesn't...
We need to have a Battle of Five Armies drinking game where you drink a shot of Jack Daniels every time he says bugger.
Yeah.
Really.
And we'll all be sleeping on the floor before the movie's over.
We're going to be trash.
Honestly, though, if for those of you who wonder, okay, why were these scenes cut? It has nothing to do with the length of the film. Yeah, it has everything to do with the fact that it was entirely too gory.
PG-13?
Way too gory. You would have cut down sales by tons if you had added in these scenes. When you guys ask yourselves, how can a Hobbit film be rated R?
Oh.
This is rated R.
Yeah.
It's rated R.
It's rated
So
R.
those with wee children, think about it
Yeah.
before you want to let them watch orcs get splattered to bits.
You will see a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And the orc blood, surprisingly, is not black.
Actually, a lot of it is. All the
Yeah,
troll
they're-
blood
yeah,
and all the orc blood is black. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Never
it's
mind. I
black.
thought it was
You see some of it like
No.
splashed on Thranduil's face too, and it's like
The red that you
black.
see is from the Dwarves or the Elves or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so you see like actual people blood, not like orc blood.
Yeah.
Like blood
Oh, and
blood.
you see dwarves get mutilated.
Yeah.
I mean, tore up.
Crushed. You see
I think
like
one gets his neck like broken.
Oh, you see like a troll like pick one up and tear him in half. It's like, oh wow, that was.
They really.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter Jackson kind of went a little overboard on that one. So the reason he cut it all. Now, some scenes like the Radagast handing off staff. No idea. No, I don't know. But
Editing choice.
yeah, editing choice, that was a mistake.
His editing needs to be fired, I think.
No. but everything else, yeah, it's strictly because they wanted to bring it back to a PG-13 rating, and most of the scenes, most of that battle.
That means battles go away.
Yeah, and you know
Yeah.
what's sad is the dwarf first elf scene. Although there was a lot of carnage, other than the scythe chariots, I don't remember there being.
No,
Like
there really
blood.
wasn't. No, they
Yeah.
did their thing. They fought just like another Lord of the Rings movie, and they're not tearing each other out. They're fighting.
Yeah.
What'd you think about the transition from when they're fighting? Because obviously now they've been beating the hell out of each other, and now suddenly the orcs show up.
That made more sense of why the elves were standoffish for the moment, because the dwarves attacked the elves, and so like your whole thing is like, you just attacked me, why would I want to help you?
Yeah.
And it makes a lot more sense actually because those two columns in the movie that you see like shift and move to meet the threat, those are Dane's guys that are actually involved in the fight, and he pulls them back and moves them.
Yeah.
So it's a much more fluid transition where you see them actually form back into columns and move to address the new threat.
It was great watching all their faces as the orcs burst out from the ground and everything like that, and all of a sudden the fighting just becomes less and less. People are swinging their weapons not really at each
Then
other
they just
anymore,
stop.
and they're all looking off the battlefield like,
We have
I
a
think
problem.
this might be an issue over here. We should probably go deal with this.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more of that. Definitely. Oh, Azog's battle tactics.
Yeah.
He was issuing commands. You know that little horn with the little flag thing, and it would move. There was a lot more of that, kind of like how he deals with the rams individually.
It
And
was
More
way
than
more
chariots,
tactical.
yeah.
Much more tactical.
much more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Cool. I think we're at the point. We'll each say our own little reviews, and then I think we'll wrap it up, right? Is there any?
All right, sure. What'd you think? Let's go down the line.
So there is one scene that I have to. So I was in the minority in our group that went and saw it. I'm a big orc player, and Hunter Orcs and Gundabads and
I hate your
Moria and everything. And so I was, every time I saw some of the new orc stuff, I was like, yeah, whoa, yeah. And there was a great scene. So one of the troll catapults gets taken out by the dwarves, and he falls down on his back, and then it proceeds that the catapult goes squishing my poor little goblins, which, broke my heart. I cried a little bit.
Nothing of value was lost.
No, there wasn't. But from there, the troll falls back. The catapult was armed and loaded, and it shoots. And the troll flips over to his other side, and
Like cracks his
It
neck.
breaks his neck.
it breaks his neck and kills, I think, a couple more orcs. It was hilarious to see. That was
It's
definitely
like a mousetrap, just goes bloop.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the really cool parts. And then Galadriel, watching her just obliterate that
She's
orc.
scared. She's actually scary.
She is super,
Yes.
super scary.
She's got some evil spells in that repertoire.
And that's why I love her, and I would love to see another version where she can just disintegrate anything she
Chill
wants.
soul.
Chill
She
soul.
should honestly have chill soul.
Heroic has chill
or
soul.
something.
Oh, God.
Something that obliterates, like banished spirits. Like
She has banished spirit.
Yeah, well, she has that, but
Something
what did
that
she
would banish
in the movie?
evil.
She banished an orc.
Yeah.
Not a spirit. She never banished one spirit. Oh no, she banished.
Oh, she banished.
Sauron and all ring
She banished him to the afterlife. That's exactly what she
Yeah,
did.
yeah. So that was definitely, overall, I would say I'm definitely going to buy this extended cut. Pick it up, guys. If you you don't even need to rent it, just buy it. It saves you the trouble. You're going to watch it again. I look forward to it's going to have 10 hours of extras.
Oh, jeez.
I look forward to a good painting session because that's what I watch when I'm in the mood to paint.
That's like a multiple day thing.
No, that's one day.
Oh,
I've done that.
you're killing me.
I've done that.
A single day.
Before Nova, I watched all 6 Lord of the Rings movies. As many of the extended versions, which there was 5 of them, plus all of the extras for all the movies to get ready for Nova. That's how much I was painting. So.
Walker takes his job very seriously.
I do, and it was a lot of fun.
So Casey, what's your vote on this?
Well, the thing that actually stood out the most to me, being a big military history guy, the tactics that they used, the tactical involvement of the armies. It's not just Lord of the Rings with 2 armies just mashing and mauling into each other. There's movement, there's tactics, there's counter tactics. Even in the thing that we talked about with the Elves fighting the Dwarves was amazing. And I'll leave you on this note. I want rules for Dwarven chariots and spindly bolt throwers, and I want them like now. I want, quoting one of Billy Connolly's famous sketches, I want it yesterday. That's when I want it.
So I guess the last one here, speaking from a person who actually likes to critique films actually quite a bit, or I'd like to watch them. I mean, the character development of every single dwarf is massively improved. The character development of Thorin Oakenshield is massively improved. I think the tie-in with Alfred dying is actually gratifying. Immensely.
You just want him to die.
It's
a
you
good
know what?
death.
Jar Jar Binks and him always felt like those characters that were annoying so that you could see them die. It's so that you could enjoy their death. I know
You
it
never
sounds
got that with Jar Jar.
You never got it with Jar Jar, and that's why everyone was mad. And you never got it with Alfred, which is why he was the next Jar Jar. Well, rest assured, we have killed Jar Jar. And but even beyond that, I think these 20 minutes really do add that much. With the exception of like 2 scenes, like I said, the bat killing scene is like, all right, maybe one scene that should have been cut out. I think that this is it went from being one of my least favorite Hobbit films to being probably one of my most favorite.
I'll put it in like the top 3.
Of the Hobbit films.
Rob put it as 2. For those guys that are following Rob, he put it as his second favorite. 2 Towers is first.
He's comparing it even to the Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, Lord of the Rings included. The only one I might bump it over is the Fellowship, but even that's tough. It's tough to compare to the original trilogy. The original trilogy truly is a masterpiece.
It's
as a film, I would have to give those ones the edge. Even still, I still rank it as like 4th. But you know what? I probably need to go watch all the movies again and see how I feel. But I'd have to say now at this point, The Hobbit: Unexpected Journey would be my least favorite of the 6. At this point,
I'd have to agree. I think
so. So anyway, that's it for our spoiler review, guys. Ask us any questions if you want. Also, check out our video where me and Casey banter about the practicality of some of the dwarven weaponry, mostly the twirly-whirlies.
we go full nerd on this.
Full nerd.
Full nerd. Never go full nerd.
So let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. Obviously, there will be a schism here. Some people might find what we found, you may have not liked it, and that's perfectly fine. Let's just, have a conversation about it. Just remember that you will automatically lose all DCHL tournaments if you disagree with us.
I will find you. I know where you live.
Oh God. And if you no longer want to subscribe to DCHL because of Devin, please let us know that.
Direct all your calls to 911.
Don't tell them that. Then we'll really get in trouble. Don't do that.
Do it. All right, guys. So let us know what you think, and we will see you next time.
Later, guys.